Welcome back and thanks for joining today. Stephen K. De Silva Ministries here. And I'm, of course, like many Americans and people around the world, I'm working out of my home and I'm starting to get used to that. I'm starting to move in, get all my equipment set up and really migrate from my office to my home. And it's a transition for us all. I know we're making lots of adjustments and interactions are new and growing all the time. We're getting wiser and better at our process of flattening the curve of COVID-19. But there's a thing that's been brewing in our White House, in our government, and our Congress. This is this new $2.2 trillion act that has just passed into law, and it will soon be hitting all the headlines. And what I wanted to do was spend a little time today giving you some context for what is about to become the big news of the century. Okay, so let's get started. I realize that I'm coming out early with some information based on this bill recently made a law that may change because literally the documents are not even organized yet for people to apply. So if you could give me some space here, some of the information that I give as fact in this video may adjust or change as this unfolds. But I'm also providing principles, and this is the most important reason for this video. We really want to have a perspective, a way of viewing our coming days and weeks and months through the lens of a prosperous soul, not one that is manipulated by emotions, fears, and really ambitions, these selfish ambitions we have. These things boiling around, we want to see through that. And that is what I hope to do today in this video. So, here are some emerging facts. This act is called the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, all right, which is just really encouraging to see that our Congress can organize an acronym that spells CARES. Isn't that clever? So, I appreciate that right off the bat. This is the CARES Act, and it totals $2.2 trillion, that's with a T, trillion dollars. Of that, 350 billion with a B is about to be released as what's going to be called a government guaranteed payroll protection loan. That means that organizations, businesses, even self-employed people and independent contractors are able to apply to avoid layoffs or unable to pay their bills. The Small Business Administration, the SBA, is going to make these $350 billions of dollars available to really people like us all around the world, well, all around the United States, so that we can take loans to help us keep our employment and keep this economy going. I think it's a novel approach. I've never heard of anything like this before. There's expectations that this money will come very quickly, and the very quickly looks like applications will begin this Friday. Today's Monday. This Friday, April 3rd, is when they expect applications to start coming into the SBA. So there's a fact. Where is the SBA and where can you get these loans? Well, the Small Business Administration, or SBA.gov, is the site you would go to apply. So just applying doesn't guarantee income because they're going to farm this information out of the nation's workers and small businesses, and they're going to go through and ask, what is the criteria in order to give you this money? So let me give you some of those terms that are emerging. Payroll protection loans. Okay. It will apply to businesses smaller than 500 employees. Now that means I will just fit under the wire, okay? My organization. But that means it also expands to some of these mid-range and very large organizations, especially if they satellite their employees, like the way restaurants or hotels do. They have, maybe thousands of employees, but when they break it into their city, the Holiday Inn on Hilltop Drive or whatever the situation is, their numbers get down far enough that they will individually be able to qualify for this payroll protection loan. Let's see. Here's a new novel. Nonprofits can qualify. So under the SBA arrangements in the past, and by the way, these loans have been around for a very long time for organizations, for-profit businesses with less than 500 employees. So some of you listeners might have SBA loans already. You might want to check and see if you can defer payments in order to help your cash flow. A little side note. But let's keep going. These are the new groups that are allowed under the law. Nonprofits, sole proprietors, independent contractors. So these are really an effort by the government to reach down into the nitty-gritty of our economy and help really protect our cash flow, protect our homes, protect our health, and these various things in our homes. It's a pretty exciting and aggressive approach. I've never seen anything like it. Now, here's an interesting thing. How much is the loan for? Well, the average monthly payroll from last year. So if you're wondering, well, how big are these loans? It's simply 2.5 times the amount of average payroll on a month from 2019. Okay? And when you figure that amount, that 2.5 times average, you can include healthcare costs and sick leave pay. Yeah. Where do you go to get it? Well, it turns out any SBA lender or FDIC insured institutions. So that's a lot of banks, maybe some credit unions. You can nose around. My bank, for example, and probably yours, is, if you have one, is FDIC insured. So they would be eligible to grant these loans. I gave you the website. Let me go a little bit farther. I'm starting to think. Now, here's the facts laid out. And it's aggressive on the part of the government. They've lowered the bar. They're soon going to present this money and as a loan. And when it does, we have to begin to decide, is this an opportunity for us? So I want to do the next few minutes here and just talk about, is this an opportunity or a trap? Because we need to realize something. These are loans, and loans will be repaid. Now, repaid from future income, right? So a provision in the law says that if you take the loan and you keep your employees for 3 months, they will waive the loan. So that is a massive incentive to receive this money. It sounds and is designed to be free money designed to support us in our small business work, okay? But here's an interesting thing I was thinking. Some things, I should say it this way, the Bible tells us that all things are possible, but only some things are profitable. I'm not saying that verse or that concept, principle, as against this law. You see, I don't think debt is evil. Some do, I don't. I think debt is like a fire, and fire requires a fireplace to contain it so that I can yield or take the benefits from that fire. Like in my house here, we were cold last night. It was a chilly night, so we built a fire to keep us warm. But we didn't just build the fire in the corner of the room. We built the fire in the fireplace because the fireplace has the capacity to manage something as powerful as debt and borrowing. I think debt works the same in our lives. If we have capacity, debt is something we can manage. If we do not have capacity, you should not light a fire in the corner of a room of your home, because that powerful thing can destroy you when you lack capacity. So even though this is an opportunity, a bona fide opportunity, and I think a well drafted or conceived attempt, we will see how the facts play out. But I am processing this through my lens. Do I have capacity? Is this an opportunity that is profitable for me? Well, there is a subject or a concept called the herd instinct. And that means that when somebody sees an opportunity, imagine a herd of cattle on a mountain. If the cattle hear that the farmer is coming with food, the cattle will all begin to move like a herd. They will move together. I think this happens in a lot of small business thinking and a lot of homes as well. We begin to hear where people's momentum is moving, and we join because we don't want to be left out. Well, I believe there is coming a massive herd instinct to go take these loans automatically and place them into our lives to help sustain us. But let's just talk about what that means. Remember, most of this is debt that will be repaid by future cash flow. That means if you have an arrangement that lasts for 3 months, but it mounts 2.5 months worth of payroll suddenly into your finances as a debt, you are banking on future cash flows. Now, I honestly think that this will all come to pass. I do. I think that the time will come when we look back and we think about COVID-19 like any flu. We have to do the basics. Keep our hygiene, wash our hands, not cough in each other's faces. That has always been a reality, especially around our vulnerable people. COVID, of course, is different in that it is much more contagious. But let's just think about this for a moment. We have seen unprecedented changes by our government and governments all around the world. It is definitely affecting the world's economy. So I think our future cash flows require a timeline that needs to be much longer than we want or wish. Okay? I think a prudent, prosperous soul should recognize, okay, economics are going to be slow in recovering. Even if our economy roars back, which, by the way, is the assignment and goal behind these laws, the CARES Act, for example, the purpose is to protect and roar back with our finances once we get through this process of flattening the infection curve. But I think it's going to take time. So build a plan and think through, what would this look like? How long will it take me to get back out of debt? Okay, so we begin to look over a future horizon. We begin to use your expert knowledge in your finances. Think about it. No one in the world knows more about your economics than you. You're the expert. So use that knowledge, and if you need help, gather it up. You know, there are resources, and there are people like myself that can coach and advise. Find those people, get them on your team, and build realistic, prudent plans. Whether or not you take this money in debt will be a tactic that falls out of prudent planning. All right. Now, I think I recently had a client that I gave some advice to that I think might help. I'm going to try to wedge it into this. It's getting a little bit long, but if you're bored, you can leave before me. I just want to get a video with some constructive suggestions. And here's what I told my friends. This was a client that I've been coaching for a while. And in the middle of our coaching process, like a month in, COVID-19 comes and ends their income. So now they're like, whoa, what do we do? So I drew on a page a diamond like a baseball diamond. Now, if you're not familiar with baseball, it's just four corners, okay, that I'm working with. But with the baseball diamond, we understand there's first base, second base, third base, and a home plate. So the runner would run around the bases to make a score, okay? So what I told my friends is I said, build yourself a living, giving, saving plan that is coming out of my Prosperous Home Manual. If you don't have it, you can find that on my website store. But here's what I would suggest. Building a living, giving, saving plan for 3 stages and next year's target. The 3 stages are, for this couple, what does it look like with 0 income? In other words, how are you going to shrink down spending so that you can manage to get through this process, this first base process, with the minimal amount of debt possible? Second base is what happens when the shelter-in rules are lifted and we begin to go back to work? Well, this second base is the model I'm describing. It is the slow grind of rebuilding our clientele. It may come back, praise the Lord if it does, all at once. But if it doesn't, let's build a second place program so that we can happen to those facts rather than have them happen to us. Third base is when we have rebuilt our clientele and our income back to match our spending before COVID-19 affected our businesses, right? Do you understand? First base is 0 income. Second base is limited or marginal build back income. Third base is we're back to where we started. Home run will be an LGS spending plan that is where we want to be. That's where we build in our strong generosity, we build in our strong investments, we pay down our debts to 0. Whatever our aggressive models are down here, we can only do in limited strength until we reach our home run and we go after it. Okay? So there's just a little idea. Now I'm going to build myself a webinar, and I hope to release it early next month. That is in about 6 to 10 days, somewhere in there. And this webinar, the first will be a free webinar, and I'm going to build out that idea a little more. So if that's something you're interested in, watch my newsletter and probably in Facebook or wherever, and we'll be telling people before it comes out. So you can watch the thing, and we'll probably plug in some live questions and answers so we can try to really engage people. But it'll be a 4-part series, and the other 3 will be talking about the purpose train for emergencies. I'm calling it the P-Train 911. What do we do when our options are off the table or extremely limited, and now we have to find out how to navigate a storm? We don't want to push through, we want to pull through. So that'll be a subject and some content, I think very powerful content, that will be coming in a short amount of time out of my ministry. But let me say 2 last things about this whole subject before I sign off today. The first one is gather a pro to your table. If it's time for you to build out and you need help building a first, second, third base or home run LGS, in other words, a spending plan. If you need help cutting and adjusting and really refining your plan, get a pro at the table. Find yourself a CPA. If you're wondering about the SBA loans, find yourself an expert. Go to those bankers. Go online. Do your due diligence, okay? Don't be afraid or embarrassed to ask for help, because this is all new for everyone, and we want to make right, wise steps going forward. The last thing I will say is the one person we should all be speaking to is our Lord Jesus. We need to be bowing our knees and praying for breakthrough and for the end of this coronavirus, all right? But also we can ask for wisdom. You know, we have a really interesting dynamic on our hands during the coronavirus. It is global. We've never seen it in our generation before. But here's the facts. Jesus has. God knows about it. It says in the book of James, chapter 1, it says, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials." What James is saying there is, don't be shocked when things are hard. But 5 verses later, it says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God," right? If you don't know what to do, if you're unsure, don't pray in fear and fretting. Pray on purpose for wisdom. Realize that none of this surprises God, and you are totally going to get through this. You and I are going to get through this because God is on his throne. He is not afraid of coronavirus, and he is loving his children. And you and I are some of his loved children. But we need to ask, and we need to learn how to move with wisdom. The verse goes on, it says that God who gives to all generously and without reproach, he will give it to him who asks. That is an amazing promise. So whatever your plans are in this season, whether you're a business entrepreneur or maybe you're an employee in a company or a self-employed person, whatever your scenario, God is aware. And we can step forward, and maybe the SBA loans are an option for you. But what I most importantly press is ask for wisdom. Put your cares on your Lord and let him respond with wise advice. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you'll share the video with anyone in your circles that you think this would be helpful for. God bless you, and God bless your prosperous soul. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Stephen K. De Silva, and you're probably wondering, why have I never heard this information before? Well, now you can by going up into this corner and subscribing to this channel. Or you can go to this corner and watch the next video. There is tons of information I'm giving you. Go check it out and go deeper. Or better yet, go to the link below and go check out my website. I've got some free stuff on there. Go get that and go see lots of resources so you can finally master your money. Hey, I gotta go record another video. I'll see you soon. Bye.